Hello. This is the next video in the series of me re-recording all my solution videos for my existing puzzles. This is kind of, in some ways it feels like a waste of time because I don't know how many people are even looking at these puzzles now. This has been out for almost a year. But I am too much of a perfectionist to a fault, and I cannot just like go and fix one of the videos and not fix all of them, so whatever. At this point, I'm in it too deep to justify stopping in the middle, so I'm just going to keep going through these. So this one is for Cheesy Adventure. As the description says, this was originally a joke for Chatty Cathy's community. Definitely recommend you check her out. She hasn't been doing Sudoku much recently. She's been doing a lot of other games, but she does do some Sudoku, and that's originally where I found her. And Cheez-Its were kind of a running joke at one point I found in her chat. So this puzzle is for the most part normal. I'm going to skip over the obvious thing with the Cheez-Its because they actually do play into the puzzle. Just briefly address that we have a couple normal standard rules. We have killer cages. These two numbers must sum to 15. These four sum to 11. These four sum to 29. We also have arrows. It's basically the same idea. These two things sum to whatever's in the circle. I like to think of arrows as like a disjointed cage. We're saying this is the cage portion, and the total is not attached to it. I mean, it kind of is, but it's not attached in the sense of being in like the corner of a cage. It's the circle could be anywhere in relation to it. It could be there, any other spot. We're just choosing to put it here. Then we have copy pairs. So black dots, one digit is double the other. White dots, one digit is consecutive with the other. Finally, even cells. The cell with a gray square must have an even number in it. And now we can move on to the interesting part with our cloned regions. The orange square Cheez-Its represent 3 cloned regions of the grid, which contain the same digits in the same relative positions. Digits must not repeat in each cloned region. For the avoidance of doubt, this means each cloned region will have the digits 1 to 9 once each. So, this doubles first, as this would be another set of digits 1 to 9, on top of just the normal boxes. This kind of overlaps like that. And then further than that, it also mentions that you cannot, the digits are cloned across each other. So whatever digit goes in the top left would go in the top left of the other Cheez-Its as well. Same for those. Same for any other part of the Cheez-It. You can see they're all misaligned a little bit, so that way that doesn't break the puzzle by repeating the digits. So if you're interested in like the geometry of a Sudoku puzzle, this puzzle and these types of puzzles give a lot of interesting geometry stuff because, for example, you can already make deductions right away that, let's say, let me find a good example. We could say something like these digits must be the same as these 3 digits. They're not going to be the same order, clearly, left to right, but the fact that these digits cannot repeat inside a Cheez-It. Oh, the coloring is a bit weird there, but it's behind the Cheez-It, but you can see that means that you would not be able to have those digits reappear in red. So in this box, they would have to go there. And so you get all sorts of interesting patterns from that. This is a 1-star puzzle. You do not really need to think about that. It is helpful. In fact, that's kind of what one of the hints talks about a little bit about. But it is something that's at least interesting you can mess around with. So, with that in mind, we can restart. And right away, we're going to get hint number 1 in the puzzle, which is, there's only one way to make 11 in a 4-cell cage, and similar for 29. Both cages also share exactly 1 Cheez-It cell in common. So the way to think about this, if you're not super comfortable with mental math in killer cages, is one of the first things I would do with a 4-cell cage is think about how close is the sum to the minimum or the maximum that it could be. And so we'll do it with the 11 cage up here. 11 is really close to the minimum for 4 cells. 4 cells in a cage, at minimum, will be 1, 2, 3, and 4, summing to 10. So the only way to make it sum to 11 is to take one of those numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, and increase it by 1. Now, if you increase the 1, 2, or the 3 by 1, you end up with a second 2, 3, or 4. So that would not be an option. So the only number we can increase by exactly 1 to make this work is to take the 4 and make it a 5. Meaning this is a 1, 2, 3, 5 cage. Now, if you're using the killer calculator, you can see it just gives you that right away. I'm just demonstrating how to do it without that. You can do the same with the 29 cage down here and see that 29 is close to the maximum. 6, 7, 8, 9 would give you 30. So we can do the same kind of idea. Decrease the 6 by 1, and we get 5, 7, 8, 9. And that does a couple things for us. First, we can get an 8 right here, just right away, because it has to be even, and that's the only even digit possible there. But this also is going to allow us to place our first 3 Cheez-It digits. Just such a weird sentence out of context, but And that's exactly what the second part of the hint is mentioning, where it says both cages share exactly one Cheez-It cell in common. And so that is saying, this cell and this cell must be the same, and there's only one number in common between those. Has to be 5. So now 5 comes out from all these spots. And we can also put a third 5 in this Cheez-It over here. Now it's already time for hint number 2. And this is a pretty bulky hint. We're going to get a decent amount of progress on the grid just from working on this portion of the puzzle. It's less of a hint and more of just like a general nudge towards what strategy to use here. So it says, once you start getting digits placed, be very attentive to where digits can go within the Cheez-Its. For example, a single cell may simultaneously see all 3 of the middle row cells of one Cheez-It, and also see the right column of a different Cheez-It. So that's referring to, this, let me find a good spot. So like this digit, for example, that sees all 3 of these, and it sees all 3 of these. So that digit would also not be able to go in that portion of the other Cheez-Its as well. And then it points out, that means you'd be able to rule out that number from all 5 of those cells. This strategy will allow you to place one more digit into the Cheez-Its, as well as pencil marking 2 others, all of which will lead to resolving the 15 cage. So let's first pencil mark this 15 cage. We have 2 ways of summing to 15 in 2 numbers. It's either 6, 9, or 7, 8. And now we can look back at the Cheez-Its so we can kind of see how we end up resolving the cage. So 2 things you gotta look at here. The first one I think is a little more easy to see. We just place an 8, so it's kind of natural to ask maybe where could the 8 go inside each Cheez-It. 8 cannot go in the bottom portion by Sudoku, and it can't go on the left portion, also by Sudoku. Similarly as well, it also can't go in the middle section by the fact that it's in this row here. So you also would not be able to place it there in any of these. So it's kind of a waste of time to highlight them that way, but the conclusion there is that we get 8 into the top middle and top right of each Cheez-It. But we can prove which one it is, because this 8 is on a white dot. If this was on the white dot, you would need to have a 7 or a 9 underneath it to be consecutive. And this box already has 7, 9 inside it, so that would not work. 8 must go in the top middle of the Cheez-It. Means 8 comes out from here, 7 comes out from there. And now we can do a similar strategy, looking at where 7, 9 can go. I find this one a little more interesting. So we have 7, 9, which looks upwards and says 7, 9 is not going in this portion of this box, which means it's definitely going in one of these cells. So 7, 9 is going on the kind of middle column or the right column of the Cheez-Its. But the 7, 9 down here means it can't go on the right portion. So 7, 9 in reality actually goes onto just those 2 middle spots there. And that's now important because 7, 9 now comes out from the 15 cage. 7 comes out from there, 8 there, 9 here, 6 there. So that now gives us the order of the 15 cage. And that being a 9 here now resolves the order of the 2 7, 9s that we just placed, as well as that cage. Suddenly we have a lot of digits on the grid, relatively speaking. I don't remember if we can do much classic Sudoku with this, so let's take a look first, just to see. 5 goes into one of these. Normally I wouldn't pencil mark 3 digits like that, but... Go over here. 5, guess doesn't go there, it also doesn't go there, so that's decent. 5 up here goes there. Oh, we do get a 5 here. And that's because we had the 5 looking across this way, and the 5 can't repeat inside the Cheez-It. And then we had this pencil mark locking out that one, so 5 goes here. I think that's about all we can do for now. 5's locked out from there. Yeah, that's about all we can do, I think. Briefly check the other digits. I find this sort of strategy, just like highlight the grid where the digits appear is a good way to see it. See where things can or can't go. I don't think we're gonna get a whole lot more than this. We do get an 8 over here. And that gives an 8 over here. 8's one of these 2 spots. And then finally, do a quick check of 9. 9 goes up here. 9 repeats in the Cheez-It, so that goes there. Here, so 9 is locked into there. That's about it, I think. Okay. So, you'll maybe try that approach and maybe you see you get a couple digits, but it's not enough to crack the puzzle wide open or anything. So the question now is to think about the remaining portion of the Cheez-Its. So, we only have 5 digits left on them, which might seem a little silly to pencil mark, but I'm going to do all of them and say we need 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6. Now we can say right away there's definitely not a 6 on the white dot because there is no 5 or 7 for it to go next to. We can take 6 out of those spots. Even better, we have a 1, 2, 3 in this cage here, meaning the top left of the Cheez-It cannot be 1, 2, or 3. Again, that echoes across all portions here. And now this is where hint number 3 comes in. Hint number 3 says, the black dot in combination with the white dot make a big impact on the lower left Cheez-It. Only one pair of digits on the black dot avoids breaking the puzzle. So let's look at this. We have 1, 2, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 2, 4, 4, 8, or 3, 6. Can't have an 8 because we have an 8 in the column. And then we could start looking now at, are there any combinations here that immediately break the puzzle? Based on the hint, there's only one that's going to work, but let's start with maybe 4. If we put a 4 on here, it would have to go with a 2, because we just took out 8. If we took 2 and 4 out from the column, that now has to be a 1, 3 white dot, which doesn't make any sense. Which means we can take out 4 from there. So now we can maybe now ask, what about 1, 2? If we had 1, 2 here, that would then become 3, 4. And that means all 4 of 1, 2, 3, 4 would come out of this. That would become a 6. Let's mark that there. And then the problem with that right away becomes apparent, because this 6 takes out 6 from here. That would need to be a 4. But we just said that there would be a 3, 4 in the white dot. So that does not work. This whole thing was predicated off of the idea that we're saying 1, 2 on the white dot. So that doesn't work. Now, at first glance, you could maybe say that just means it's not a 1. Maybe it could be 2, 4, but we just took out 4. So as soon as we take out 1, 2 comes out with it, and we're left with 3, 6 on the black dot. And that now will resolve, I believe, the rest of the Cheez-Its. Because now 3 can't go on here. Neither can 6. The white dot now cannot have a 4 on it in order to be consecutive. That must be 1, 2, which only leaves 4 there, 6 here. And again, 1, 2 over there gives us 3 in that order. So now we can fill that in for the other Cheez-Its. We have 6, 8, 3, 7, 5, 9, 4. That's not a 4. 6, 8, 1, 2, 4, 9, 5, 3, 7. Placing those digits, the 6 in the corner tells us the order of the black dot. The 3 comes out from there. We don't quite know the order of the 1, 2 yet. But we can do what's missing here. We need a 5 in the column here. That's going to help with our pencil marks from earlier, because now we can take out 5 from there and goes here. And now might be a good time to maybe look at the arrows. There's no hint for that, because I think that's kind of natural. You know, that's the last remaining clue we haven't looked at yet, so it's pretty natural to think about that. We should ask ourselves, what could possibly go in this circle? We only have 2 digits left in the box. It would either need to be a 3 or a 6. And we actually know the order of that, it must be 6. So that tells us this is either going to be a 1 and 5, which it can't be because of the column, or 2 and 4. And we do know the order of those, 2, 4. That 2 figures out the remaining portion of the 11 cage, which in turn gives us the last 2 parts of the Cheez-It. So you can see this is a very powerful kind of rule. As soon as you have cloned regions, you get 1 digit, you actually get 3 digits. So it's very hard to make a puzzle like this actually have multiple stages to it. But I'm happy with how this came out. So let's see, where else would make sense to look? I'll deal with this arrow in a second. We have some other stuff we can pencil mark first. Here we need a 4, 7, and a 9. This has to be 7. That leaves in this row, that needs to be a 3. Then this needs to be 1, 5, 7. Do not know the order yet. This box needs a 5 and a 4, and we know the order of that. That now tells us this is 7, 1, 5. That 7 gives us our 7 down here. That leaves us with 4 digits here. We need a 1, 2, 3, 6. So that must be 2, that's 6, that's 3, that's 1. This box needs a 3, 5, 6, 8. So that's 3, 5, 8, 6. This box needs a 1, 2, and a 4. 4, 2, 1. 9, 4 up there. This now needs a 3 and a 6. 6, 3. This needs 1, 2, 4. And then this needs, let's see, 7, 8, 9. And moving back to the middle, we need a 7, 8, 9. And a 1, 2, 4. So I'm going to get rid of our corner pencil marks here because we're about to resolve this. So now we're left with the only thing we haven't really thought about is this arrow. And so I did it this way just to kind of demonstrate why this arrow is necessary. That this is as far as you can get in the puzzle without this arrow to disambiguate the final stretch, I believe. Yeah. So, would this be 7? The answer is no, because this would be at minimum 7 on the arrow's tip itself. So there's no way this could then sum to 7. That must be 9, 7, 8, 9, 8, 7. And then one final part of this, it's not just enough to put that there, you also then need to think about what does this sum to. 7 and 2 gives us 9. So that gives us exactly like that. Final message at the end said, sponsor me, Cheez-Its. That would be very funny. I would make a whole series of Cheez-It puzzles if I could. That would be really fun to kind of go back to the Sudoku shitposting world. Yeah, so this one was pretty straightforward. Next one I'll be doing is the follow-up to this, the Cheez-It ring. So keep an eye out for that. Thank you for watching.